It was a dark and stormy night, the kind of night that makes your skin crawl and your heart race. I was on my way home from work, driving down a deserted back road when I saw her. She was standing by the side of the road, drenched from head to toe and shivering in the cold rain. She looked lost and scared, so I pulled over to offer her some help. As I rolled down the window to ask if she needed a ride, I immediately regretted my decision. Her eyes were black as coal and her skin was pale and clammy. Her hair hung in wet strands around her face, but it was her smile that chilled me to the bone. It was too white, too toothy, and too natural. My instincts told me to drive away, but something about her drew me in. Maybe it was the way she seemed so vulnerable, or maybe it was just my own foolishness, but I agreed to let her into my car. As she climbed into the passenger seat, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. We drove in silence for a few minutes, the only sound the pouring rain on the roof of the car. Suddenly, she turned to me and spoke in a voice that was both sweet and sinister. "Do you believe in ghosts?" she asked. I nervously laughed and said no, trying to break the tension. But then she began to tell me a story that made my blood run cold. It was about a woman who had died in a car accident on this very same road years ago. She had been wandering ever since, looking for someone to help her find peace. The woman in my passenger seat claimed to be this ghost, and she needed my help to move on. I tried to keep my composure, but her words sent chills down my spine. Suddenly, she reached out and grabbed my arm, squeezing so hard it hurt. "Don't be afraid," she whispered. "I just need your help." I was terrified, but I didn't know what else to do. I agreed to help her, and she directed me down a narrow dirt road that led deep into the woods. As we drove deeper and deeper into the forest, the rain grew heavier and the wind howled outside. I tried to keep my eyes on the road, but I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched. Finally, we arrived at an old abandoned house, the kind you see in horror movies. The ghostly woman led me inside, and I immediately regretted following her. The air was thick with the musty smell of decay, and the walls were covered in peeling wallpaper and cobwebs. The floors creaked underfoot, and I could hear strange noises coming from somewhere deep within the house. I followed the woman as she led me deeper into the house, towards a room at the end of a long hallway. As we walked, I could feel the hairs on the back of my neck standing up. Suddenly, she stopped and turned to face me. "This is where it happened," she said, pointing to the door of the room. I hesitated, but before I could say anything, she pushed me towards the door, creaked open, revealing a dark and musty room filled with old furniture and cobwebs. As my eyes adjusted to the darkness, I saw something move in the corner of the room. It was a figure, shrouded in darkness, moving slowly towards us. I screamed and tried to run, but the ghostly woman held me back. "It's okay," she whispered. "It's just her." Suddenly, I realized that the figure was not some monstrous creature, but the ghost of the woman who had died on this road years ago. She was reaching out for me, begging for my help. I tried to calm myself and focus on the task at hand. Together with the ghostly woman, we helped the spirit find peace and move on from this world. As I drove back home that night, my mind raced with all that had happened. I couldn't believe what I had seen, but at the same time, I knew that it was all too real. From that day on, I never drove down that road again.